My goal for Podblogger is to make it more accessible to users struggling with shorter attention spans and to welcome younger users into the podcasting community. I messaged 5 different friends and spoke to members of my family about their podcasting usage. Most were casual listeners and a couple didn't use them at all. Interestingly, I found commonalities between reasons for the waning interest of casual users and the reasons for why some don't listen at all. My findings fell into 3 distinct categories: engagement, customization, and description. Many of the users I surveyed spoke about having short attention spans and a tendency to give up on long tasks, which directed me towards Beth Harvey's blog about her experiences with ADHD and podcasting. Her key points about combating ADHD in terms of auditory media were that multitasking and the removal of the pressure to focus actually aided her concentration. The survey responses and additional questioning overwhelmingly indicated a difficulty to concentrate on solely spoken audio media and a desire for better engagement. Further reading on the use of video in podcasting mediums indicated attempts at integration, such as audio-based marketing across apps like Instagram and behind-the-scenes video content used to entice audiences, both ultimately unsuccessful. I found that younger people tend to use podcasts less, as concentration is difficult and there is little incentive to make them more appealing than television or YouTube. In order to entice younger users, I began exploring reward-based systems and interactive features like avatars, looking to Booster Buddy as a precedent. From this research, I have determined that current podcasting interfaces are lacking in user control and engagement. My 2 users, Cara and Marcus, convey 2 opposite ends of podcast usage, with similar needs. Cara does not listen to podcasts as she finds them difficult to follow and lacking in reward. She prefers television and socializing over sitting through audio-based material. Marcus is a teacher with ADHD. He loves listening to podcasts but finds concentration difficult, and the lengthy episodes problematic. Cara requires an incentivized experience that will persuade her to listen to podcasts and sustain her attention, while Marcus requires a system designed to help him stay focused, possibly employing a reward-based system to keep him engaged. My concept for Podblogger's new interface is creating a platform which takes into account the needs of users who struggle to focus and users who want a more involved experience. I began brainstorming ways to keep users engaged and ways to personalize their experience. From this ideation, I decided that Podblogger will promote active engagement through incentives and forums to promote friendly competition, discussion, and active engagement in the podcasting community. It will also implement a reward system for completing podcasts and engaging in the forums, in the form of an evolvable plant avatar, inspired by research into idle games and the mental health app Booster Buddy, to keep users actively involved and encourage younger users to join. For my user journeys, I explored 2 different use scenarios, exploring 2 different features. The first looked at utilizing the flags feature while doing homework. In this situation, the user is not viewing their phone, and so audio and tactile features are employed in addition to a visual alert. The second user journey focuses on the user leveling up their seed in a more social setting, for example on a bus with a friend. Initially, I was focused on customization, so I made a digital wireframe for a photo album-styled library, modeled off of the iPhone's camera roll. I then moved away from customization and focused on the idea of setting markers, making a paper prototype to simulate the use of audio and tactile feedback for this feature in the app.
Do you want to continue?
Yes.
I was informed from a user test that the red coloring appeared negative or aggressive and the M didn't stand out much, so I made a digital wireframe implementing the metaphor of flags to suggest accomplishment or victory, and using a turquoise color on a dark background to make it less aggressive. I then went on to explore the seeds function as a means of encouraging engagement and connection between users. In regards to Nielsen's heuristics, the user is given an adequate amount of control and freedom. Most sections have a return button or an X, and the user is mostly able to select the home icon to escape pages. Recognition rather than recall needs work, as the app uses recognizable icons and consistent locations, but the introduction of seeds and flags makes quick recognition difficult. However, once learned, these functions are relatively easy to retain. Some form of tutorial may be needed here. The app is fairly minimalist, using only small amounts of text where necessary, so as not to overwhelm the user, and it successfully incorporates images to draw attention. The affordance of most buttons are visible, however some fade slightly too much to be noticeable. This will need to be corrected in the next iteration. The paper prototype utilized the Wizard of Oz method and confirmed the usefulness of a tactile or auditory form of feedback. User tests for the fourth prototype showed that the app was easy to use with specific instructions, but became confusing when tasks were open-ended. Users didn't understand what the seed function was and became confused with the section to create or save flags and the section to actually apply them.
I'll apply this flag to the podcast. I've made a new flag. I didn't apply the flag to the podcast. I need to figure out how to do that. I'll make a new flag again. I'll then make the flag. I don't know what to do now. I'm stuck.
The users frequently had difficulty with using the app as they didn't have a clear mental model, and they found sections which were similar but had different purposes to be confusing, and the lack of direction paired with new concepts hindered their understanding. Several users suggested some form of quick tutorial to introduce these concepts, and most of the other users agreed this would be beneficial when asked about it. To solve the confusion stemming from the seed function and the two sections for the flags, I added a quick introductory tutorial for the user upon opening the app for the first time. This prototype was well received, and with an understanding of these functions, users were able to use the app much more smoothly. With this understanding of the functions and directions for these features, users had much more positive mental models and were able to complete tasks much more effectively. Podblogger aims to be an ear to the world of ideas, and to make the world a better place. At the core of these aims is inclusion, making sure that the app is accessible and beneficial to a variety of users. The introduction of flags and the seed avatar facilitates ease of use, engagement, and user control over the interface, creating an inclusive experience and therefore, from a design perspective, making the world of podcasts a better and more accessible place.